Good morning, everyone. Fiona and Kate here from Core Confidence. And in February, we're talking a lot about physical resilience and what is it that supports our bodies so that we can, have the presence, have the physical strength, be able to do all the things that we'd like to do in life. We often talk about overwhelm and how, things get on top of us, it's too much. Well, certainly one of the things that we've found is to pay attention to our bodies and get really in touch with what builds and sustains our physical resilience is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. This really talks to chapter 7, maintain resilience in core confidence. And I think, one of the things, and if you've been listening to us in February, we've been talking a lot about how February is always our month to, double down on sleep, on food, on exercise, bust some of those kilos that we've put on over the Christmas period, get some good routines in place. And certainly, in our experience, and I've noticed this a lot, even in the last couple of weeks, I show up differently as a human when I'm not drinking, when I'm getting great sleep, when I'm not having coffee, when, I'm kind of looking after my food and focusing on some of the self-care stuff and the activities. And certainly, physical resilience and the physical self-care stuff, it's one of the key things that we're always talking about with our accelerators is around, what's my self-care routines, and always around diet, exercise, meditation, all of those sorts of things. But today, Fee, we thought we'd talk about exercise, certainly a topic, it's not my great love of life. So it's always been a great friction point for me around goals and just, building good habits and consistency.
Yeah, look, it's been for me too, particularly in my 20s. I think I just kind of ignored it, and that was part of what linked to sort of certain amount of burnout and the amount of caffeine I was drinking as well. But what I have really come to embrace and love in the last 10, 12 years is how important and valuable exercise is. And now I'm a big walker. Particularly since spending time in Europe last year, and just realizing the value of, when you just get on your feet as often as possible, making sure that I'm walking, not always, in fact, most of the time I don't have anything on. I'm actually down at the beach with the dog. She's running around, she's swimming, just doing stuff like that, being out in nature and walking and giving my mind some downtime. But also it's amazing what pops into your thoughts and consciousness once you take yourself out of the office environment, you give yourself a bit of space and time. It serves two things. It's absolutely building physical, but it opens you up to a whole lot of new stuff, both mental and emotional. The other things that I'm really focused on this year is swimming. So I'm back in the rock pool most mornings doing laps. I'm doing it with my son at the moment, and where our plan is we're going to do a couple of ocean swims next summer. So we're going to train and build our physical strength for that. And also I'm a big yoga advocate. I think whatever you do, as well, some kind of stretch work. You and Sammy were talking about Pilates, and, that's a fantastic form as well. I really like yoga because it's a physical and spiritual practice, and it includes breath work. So for me, it's like all of your body and your soul is getting nourished through going to a yoga class. And I really try and include at least a couple of those during the week, plus do my own stretches at home.
Yeah, I think it's an important piece. It's one I've battled with since I was a teenager, and I had gym memberships. And, I think it's interesting. What's become evident for me over the last few months is time is probably one of my highest values. So I'm always whenever I'm making choices between fitness or exercise and anything else, it's always exercise versus time. And so it was that as I've become closely aware of what's probably makes a lot of sense now, but actually it was Fiona that called it when we were in the States. And it's been really interesting for me to resonate around that and then look at how that influences my behavior, because even just spotlighting that and then going, oh, okay, that's part of the friction piece. I think it's always around finding what brings you joy. I'm yet to really find exercise that brings me joy. I love dancing. But certainly, in my relationship with exercise. You know, I've done gym memberships, I've hired personal trainers. I have made a commitment, to your point, you know, set a big goal. I've run a half marathon. I couldn't run, or at least that was the story I was telling myself. And then I changed that to, of course I can run, because some person told me that anyone could get up and run a half marathon tomorrow if they had to. And so none of that helped me fall in love with running. But I found what works for me, an accountability process of, a friend wanted to, after I'd done the marathon, wanted to learn to run. So for 3 years there, I met her 3 mornings a week, and we used to run around the bay here in Des Moines. So accountability, like meeting a partner. When I paid a personal trainer to train me, I showed up. Most of the time, I rarely cancel that. So I know that's a really good strategy for me. So I think you've always got to play with what works. I think also get really clear. It's been interesting as I get a little bit older. The fear of being an old crooked lady or not being able to walk or having back issues starts to kind of take exercise up as a priority. So no longer is it just about maybe mental space. It's also now more about functionality, physical functionality as well. And so that seems to, when we talk about making decisions around time and fitness, that's kind of laid another little kind of wedge into making it more important. And, circling back to the accountability piece, in our tough love process for Accelerate, it's exercise is one of my big focuses there. So the conversation we were having with Sammy before we jumped on here was I'm off tonight to my first Reformer Pilates class, and I'm a bit concerned because she said it was so hard. So anyway, I'm booked and I can't cancel. So, go, and I'm going to be testing, different things out. I've tried yoga. I didn't love it. I've probably evolved a little bit in my meditation practice since then. And the place I'm going to for a Reformer has yoga. So I'm certainly going to try that, bar, all those sorts of things. So it's always finding what works for you.
Definitely. I think it's keep exploring, keep finding things, and things work for a while and they don't work forever. I think that piece about having connection with others as part of your exercise, whether it's a buddy, in my yoga, I have a yoga group that we actually get together socially as well now. So there's kind of like, it's, we always go for yoga, we go for a coffee afterwards. So there's a whole kind of activity that sits around yoga as the center of it, but there's other things that happen. I'm doing my swing with my son. Quite often I'm doing my walking with my husband. Like these things, when you, as you said, an accountability buddy or someone you do stuff with, really helps ratchet up a notch, I think, in terms of your commitment and making sure that you fit it into your day. Because as you said, there's always other things you could be doing. And what I've certainly learned is getting the exercise in makes me better at doing a lot of the other things that are important to me too.
Yeah, so I think 2 things. Stack it in your favor to say yes. So if you're just saying yes to exercise, well, now you're saying yes to coffee. So what we call is stack behaviors together to make it easier for you to say yes. Secondly, if there's things that are getting in the way, if the schedules are not working, explore what the obstacles are, explore what the roadblocks are, and figure out a way around that.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to encourage everyone to do a little bit more exercise this week and see how you can build it into your rhythm and routine as one of your norms.
Absolutely. And notice the impact it has not only on your resilience, your emotional and mental state, and then really how it connects in with how you feel about how you show up as your 100% unshakable, unbreakable confidence. Thanks, Fee.
See you next week.